Welcome you all to the Mobile Application Development lecture series. Today's is lecture 3 on the introduction part where we are. In today's class, what exactly we'll be looking into it? Let's go through the today's class lecture takeaway. Today we'll be looking into the UI principles, the social aspect of mobile, usability and accessibility. Before starting today's session, let's recall what exactly we discussed in the previous class. In the previous class, we started discussing about mobile application users and their UI principles. What is the main purpose of having these users? The main purpose of our development of mobile application is intended towards the users. If we are developing it for mobile applications developed for users, then we should understand what is their need, what exactly they are looking into, how we can attract them, how easily, friendly we can make them use our application. So this is our main intent thing in developing a mobile application, for which we have to see a theoretical aspects, meaning what are the main principles of UI development, what are the social responsibility, social media, how we can reach it, what are the usability, what the users will be using it, how efficiently they can access it. So with this into the mind, we will be able to recall the UI principles, which we call it as Gestalt principles. There are 5 principles, that is proximity, closure, continuity, figure and ground and similarity. We already looked into these principles in the previous class. The main purpose of these UI principles are, if you want to convey something, it should be fine-tuned. Well, I'll give you a very simple example. You will be opening a website and you will be searching for a particular thing. Say example, you are opening a Gmail account for the first time and you are searching for where to sign up, which means it should be easily accessible. It should be placed in the right position for the first user. For the second user, he doesn't want to sign up. He wants to sign in directly. So which means all this sign up and sign in should be placed in a right place, which is very well catched by the user. In the similar way, when you are using a mobile applications, you need to see where exactly you have to place, in what color you have to place, what is the foreground, what is the similarity, because our mind, according to the German research, a human mind is something which captures the images, the colors, the textures very fast. If you want to convey something in specific in that overall picture, then that should be highlighted in a big font. It should be in a different color, it should be in an attractive font, and it could be used blinking. So these are all the principles which you have to consider while designing a UI. So what exactly is a proximity means? If you are looking into the proximity, it is nothing but grouping of items. There are 5 pictures in this diagram and we can easily say that 3 are grouped and 2 are grouped. So which means whenever designing your UI, you should see that you group the items properly. The top items, the bottom, the middle content, the menu bars, and all these things has to be grouped so that a user can grasp it very quickly. So this is nothing but proximity, which we have already seen. I'm just recalling it. Next is, the principle is the closure. Even if you are trying to convey many things and if you have missed out something, it is automatically accepted by the user. There are many such words which we make grammatical mistakes, but user will not be able to identify that. That's purely because human mind works in such a way that any small gaps is automatically covered. That's how the human mind works. The same principle is used even while designing the UI, because developing a web application and developing a Windows application is far different from developing an UI for a mobile application. 60% of our UI depends on our development time. UI takes 60% of the development time. The next one is the continuity. which is a very good example with this gaming aspect, where, or a registration aspect, where you show them the flow, what is next, where will be the mind. If you consider playing a game, your complete concentration will be on a particular aspect. If you are playing a PUBG game, then you will be concentrating completely towards your gun. If you are playing a snake game, you will be completely concentrated on the head of the snake. So which means there should be a continuity, you will be concentration, you want to give the concentration what is happening next. So that shows you the continuity. You should keep all these aspects while designing your UI. Then automatically the UI comes better and you can easily convey what the user is looking for. The next aspect is figure and ground, which is very good to convey the images or the text. If you are giving a proper background and proper foreground, then it will be the better one. If you are considering this picture, you could observe that there is an icon which is visible because the background is complete white. If you have a background of complete blue, then you will not be able to identify which is the actual figure, which is the background. Image is not that clear. So for a better picturability, for the better viewing, you should have a proper background. In the same way, while you are designing a UI, you should choose your background color or background things very promptly so that the foreground text or the images are visible very clearly. Then user will be able to easily grasp what he is looking into it and what you want to convey to him. The next principle tells you the similarity. Similarity. It is also comes very good game actually. These principles are very well applied in the games, because when you are playing finding the differences or comparing two images or certain games, then it will be easy to find out the similarity between the objects. If you have many things conveyed in different aspects, you will try to group which are the common things. So if there are 5 different kinds of images, out of which there are big, there are small of different sizes. But when you are looking into it, you can easily say there are 3 in blue color and 2 in black color, which means there is some similarity with respect to the color aspect. Is there any similarity with respect to the size? No. If you have same size, then you will be doing proximity, but if you have a different size but with a different colors, then we call it as similarity. The same principle applies even while designing your UI. When you are selecting your headers and footers or the body contents, you should find out the similarity of the text fonts or the colors. So if you are observing the Facebook app or a WhatsApp app, you could see that Facebook is completely into blue, whereas your WhatsApp is completely into green, which means it gives you a better similarity in every page or every activity you move on. You will be able to identify, yes, this is Facebook, this is WhatsApp. Irrespective of the page or irrespective of the activity you are there, everything will be either in a blue or in a green. So this similarities helps you a better conveying of your UI design. So with this, these are all the things which we discussed in the previous class. And today's very important aspect we will be discussing is the social aspect of mobile, the usability and the accessibility. The social aspect of mobile, what are all the social aspects? What is the main purpose we are looking into here is, whenever you design your mobile application, it should be reachable to every social person. If you are going through your Play Store, you could see that Facebook crossed, WhatsApp crossed 2 billion users, 2 billion downloads. Similarly, how is that possible? Because it was marketed well with using the social media. So which means when you develop your applications, you should have an tendency to how to make it reach. Many times it so happens that using a social media like a Facebook or a LinkedIn or a Instagram, you could be able to convey the user telling that this is the next good product which can be used or which will be used, which can be help you out. So the first aspect of a social media is to concentrate on the social media advertising. The next one is using the spread of the word. That's the best way of conveying it. Many applications in such a way that in a social networking, in a small group of network, it got spreaded with a word. Very good example is the Facebook. Initially, when the Facebook came at 2 decades ago, there was no internet all over the world. But it made a very big impact within the campus of MIT. So when they developed it, it was used within their own friend groups, within their own circle. So the same way how it got helped was, initially it was within the campus, then it reached out of the campus, then it reached the complete university, then the complete state, and then complete US. Now it is acquired by the complete world. So all it happened with a word of mouth. The same way, this was a better tool to be used when you want to make it reach for different people. And other aspects how you can convey is, nowadays any applications which are there in Play Store, they say that if you want to earn something, you should have a huge user downloads or the big reviews or the big ratings. How does it happen? How do you count it? You can always count it either by a number of users who have downloaded or number of users who liked it. These are all the counts which can be used to market your mobile applications. The other last aspect which you can see is the advertisements. Either it could be a paper advertisement or a TV advertisement or a YouTube advertisement. So all the purpose is to market your product so that all the users will be able to access your application and give the very good feedback. Next, the usability of users. Everything we are concentrating on the mobile users. Either it is social media or the usability or with the accessibility. In the usability, what is the main purpose of the usability? Who are the users? What kind of the users who will be looking into it? So the users are, main purpose is to determine and reaching the target audience. Who are the audience? Why, what is that they are looking into it? This is what we'll be looking at in detail. The other aspects are the gestures, what we use when you are using a mobile. What are the different kinds of gestures we use it while accessing your mobile applications. And the other part is error protection and corrections. Error protection, yes, there are a lot of mistakes which we do it, but there should be a way to come back. There should be a way to correct it. So these are all the other user things which they will be looking into it. So you cannot just blindly say that everyone is perfect. Everyone does mistakes. So there will be users who do perfectly, there are users who do mistakes. So these are different kind of users. Let's go through each of them individually. What exactly you mean by data mining and researching? Determine and reaching the target audience. So when you are looking into it, who are your audience? When you are developing an application, you will be intending, who are my audience? Who are they? What do they need? How can they get it? See example, you are developing a social media application, say a WeChat or a TikTok kind of a thing. Then you are very clearly seen that your intended audience are a set of group. Consider Instagram. Main purpose you will be looking into it are your celebrities. LinkedIn, your target audiences are your job seekers or the companies. Or many such applications which are there in this world are having a target audience. If you consider WhatsApp, nowadays it's used by everyone. You can say it's a common message sharing or it's a communication application. Whereas Gmail or WhatsApp or any such applications are there is no particular set of target of audience, but it's a whole world, a whole people, everyone uses that. But when you are doing a business perspective, say you are developing Zomato or you're developing a Swiggy kind of application, then you're looking, your target audiences are those who are in urban areas who doesn't have time to cook, then that means you're targeting a particular customers. So that those are your target. You should be developing your applications in such a way that who are my audience? What are they looking for it? Their time constraint, how much they will be able to spend your time, how fast they can develop, easily access our application. Say Google Pay, how fast we can transfer. See, there is a very big difference between a Google Pay and your normal net banking. Net banking, you have to open the URL, you have to go to the particular page, then you have to log in, then you are supposed to enter the amount, get the password you have to enter, again the OTP generates, then the transformation happens. But whereas when we are looking into it, Google Pay, what happens is we will be able to transfer the amount in an easy way. Google Pay works in the principle using the UPI, wherein UPI doesn't bother you much about logging in and many stuffs. All it asks is a single password, which means your target audiences are very clear. What do they want? So why are they? What do they need? How can they get it? So now the trend is changing from the net banking to the UPI mode. So this helps us to develop better application. So this helps us how very friendly you can develop your application, how user friendly is your application all about. So this determines who are all our target audiences are. The next one, sudden gestures, very important when we used to. If you consider the two types of mobiles, one was a featured phones and another is a smartphones. Even it was a featured phones, it was all about typing. Everything was keypad. Now when it comes to smartphones, there are many gestures we have to learn. You have to learn how to tap it, how to double tap it. There are different things. Then you have to zoom, how to swipe, how to long press. These are all the gestures which you have to include when we are developing a mobile application. Because when we develop an application, we have different kinds of users will be using it. Could be a differently enabled person or a very good person with a single-handed person. Many possibilities are there. So we should provide options in such a way that it is very easily accessible. And nowadays smartphones doesn't come with the actual keypad. The built-in keypad is only thing which you will be using it. So which means you are going to use different kind of gestures when you are using Android applications. Main purpose of Android applications is meant towards smartphones only. So you have to use different kinds of gestures when you are accessing a mobile applications. It could be a tap to select an item, to execute an application, to open application. Use a long press when you have to do a drag and drop. You are using a swipe when you want to. Say example, there are possibilities. Say when you open a new mobile, you don't know how to open a home screen. It was always it used to happen for me whenever I was using a featured phone in way that if there is a Nokia, Samsung, Motorola, different phones. If I want to go to a messaging, I don't know where, I have to search a lot. In fact, I don't know what is the name given, where do I have to find? So then the global standards came into picture. So all related to messages one place, all related to mails, all related to sound, all related to settings, they grouped, everything got grouped. In the smartphone also it is very similar. So whenever you are opening irrespective of your Android mobiles or you go to an iPhone, where most of the time it will be the same gestures we'll be using either to swipe or to zoom or to press. So these are common gestures will be used by a user when accessing a mobiles. These are a very important perspective which we have to think when we are developing an application. The other aspect is no one is perfect. Everyone does mistakes. There is a huge problem with the user inputs protection and the correction. Say example, when you are traveling, you are typing with a left-handed and you make a mistake. You want to correct it. If you do not correct it, then the complete thing will go wrong. Say when you are transferring money, you entered 1000, by mistake it entered with 2 more zeros. It turned out to be a huge difference when you are dealing with the financial aspects, which means there are possibilities of wrong inputs. If you perform a wrong input, there should be a way to correct it. So even these aspects has to be considered. So or else there will be huge problem for your application. One fine day, if there is no probability, there is no chance to correct it, then the users might go away from your application and you might lose your market in this industry. So the best options are undo and back. This has really turned a big change, a big revolution in the mobile smartphones. Earlier, if you are using a web application, we have many options of back button, backspace, back, many navigation keys are available. But whereas when you are using a smartphone, all you have is undo button. For everything, you can always go to the previous activity, or you can go from the application to the home screen, or to the complete a different application. All these are possibilities with just few buttons, and which is going to help you is the undo buttons and the back buttons. Whenever you make mistake, you always will be using to cancel it, or to clear it, or to correct it. Why these mistakes happen? Because users tend to make mistakes, and we should see that there is a chance given to correct it before accepting it. So, and the other aspect is, whenever you are making a mistake, you should protect that user inputs, or else it is going to be a big problem for the user. Huge data will be lost, and it turns out to be a very bad sign for any mobile applications. With this into picture, these are all the visibility what we have seen. The other aspects of is the users will be looking into the accessibility. The main purpose of accessibility is guidelines for a general mobile experience. There should be a proper guidelines given. Say, I will give you a very good example. Whenever you open an application, it so happens that you don't know where to find what, because it's a small screen and everything is kept hidden, and you are looking at where do I find this information? What happens? What are the gestures to be used? What happens if I do a swipe in, swipe out, or particular, where do I search it? It so happened when I started using the Google Pay first. The Google Pay version, I don't know where to transfer money. I was searching where to find. They had kept it in a small box for plus. So, which means the proper images were used, which I never knew. Why? Because I skipped the initial demo version of Google Pay. Which means, if you want to give a proper guidelines of your application, the best purpose is to give a demo when he starts the application for the first time. When he starts the application for the first time, you can always convey him what you want to say. Where exactly, if you press this, what happens? If you press this, what happens? Where you have to look into it, the common features of your application. Say, what are the purpose of your Google Pay? What are the activities you'll be performing it? In Google Pay, I want to transfer. I want to check the balance. I want to search the mobile numbers. All these things I want to do it. So when I'm looking into doing it, I should know where exactly. First when I open, I don't know, because Google Pay is different from the Phone Pay. Phone Pay is different from the Paytm. So everyone has a different user experience, and they have used different image, different icons, different words. I don't know what are the words. Someone will say pay, someone will say transfer. So the words difference, the icons differ. So if you are using, it is good to give a demo, wherein where do you find the common items. So where to transfer, where to check the balance, where you can link the accounts, all these things which will be very essential part of your development activities. So only then the users will be guided very properly. The guidance for general mobile experiences gets better when you guide them with a user manual. Nowadays no one goes to the user manual documentation. Everyone wants the first go. So the first time using, give a demo. Then the navigation and links. Of course, when you are using applications, there are many things which you cannot convey. You can always convey it with a detailed documentation which is available in the website or something. So in that part of time, you can always show up a navigation or links. You can give a links where you can redirect and get the better information. And you can always go page layout and content. Yes, this is a very important aspect. Whenever you want to convey certain things, contents, it should be properly placed. You should manage your activity or the page or the web pages which are getting seen on your mobile phones very properly conveyed. The contents has to be very proper, where to be placed. You should manage the complete 5.inch screen in a proper way. so that you can you can place all the information in a small screen. So the paper management or the page layout or the content management is very important for any perspective of the user. Then the page definition, yes, every page definition is nothing but where do you place your menu bars. There should be some header, there should be some footer. These are all nothing but page, the menu tabs. These are all nothing but page definition, small terms. So you want to go, all the items can be placed into your headers, can be placed into your tabs, so that going tab they can redirect it. Those are called as page definitions. And other user input methods. There are many other different user input methods. One can enter it with a textbook, voice way, or many other ways you can give the input to the mobiles. So it all depends on the user, what purpose is, what is the requirement at that point of time. So accessibility is overall means how easily we can make a user access the device. How efficiently we can make the user access the device. Let's go individually. What are the different possibilities we can have? Mobiles are no more used only by the physically fit persons. It is used even by differently enabled. That is how it helps. Everyone can use it. It's a big world. Almost 2% of the population is differently disabled. Either they do not have hands, they cannot hear, they're dumb, they are blind, many different way they are differently enabled, but we should help them, or they should be in a position to access it, because even there is a great scientist which we have to see, Stephen Hawking. He was the one person who brought up a big change in this current world with the science, wherein his imagination taught us many things. His thought process is uncomparable. But you have to remember, he was completely disabled. He was differently enabled. He couldn't move, he couldn't walk, he couldn't, even you couldn't convey with the hands. All he had was just eye expressions. His complete mind was read using the computers. So which means in this world there are many people who cannot convey. In such, those are all the users which we have to concentrate. We should allow them to access the mobile in different way. See, consider there will be people with a hearing problem, vision, speech problem, dexterity and cognition. And how can they use the mobile applications with this disability? Yes, we can see there are many options to use the mobiles. If he is having a hearing problem, he cannot listen, he cannot hear. If a mobile rings, he can't hear. How do they answer it? If the message comes up with this sound, he can't use the music, whether it is playing or off. He can't do that. We can give there are certain options of adjustable volume control. He can control the volume. He can use visual alerts. Whenever he is holding it, he is completely cannot hear it, then they can provide the vibration. If he is able to blink, can help him identify there is something happening in the mobile, which means all the purpose is how we can make him access the mobile. He can access. If he is having a hearing problem, it doesn't mean that he cannot text. He cannot talk. He can talk, but he cannot see. So he can convey over the voice, but he can get a reply in a text format. Applications can develop in such a way that it can convert and voice to text messages. Visual alerts can help him. Missed messages, he can always see, oh, there was a message coming up, there was a call. He can always look into missed calls and missed messages. He can always read. He is having a rear problem, not the blind. Next, on-screen prompts. Whenever he is using, some call is coming up in the background, then he can automatically, we can say with the prompts, he can visually view and he can answer to it. He can access it. Then the blinking alter lights. Yeah, you can always convey some important messages with the blinking things. That is a thing. Next, those who are having vision problem. They are blind, but their ears are very good. So which means difficult, but definitely there are many applications which are working towards them. The audio can help them. If they cannot see, they can always answer with their mouth. They can talk. They can get the reply with the hearing. So there are some sensory alerts. Say, vibration helps even for them as well. Vibration helps them. Sliding or flipping, how do they receive the call? They don't know where to search, where to swipe in, where to swipe, they cannot do that. All they can do is tilt it. If they tilt, answer is received. Or else they can do a clapping. So there are many ways you can provide access to a mobile, which means if you are developing an application, you should provide all these options, because you don't know if your target audience could be a visibly blind or could be a dumb. So you should always consider the vibration and the audience feedback. You can always get the feedbacks. Another problem, set of problems, those who cannot speak, but they can hear, they can see. All they can do is with the text messages. They can do the text messages, they can make use of emails. This is the best way they can convey it, because they cannot speak, which means the voice is completely out. Text messages and emails can help those who cannot speak. And they can always go through the preloaded messages, pre-embedded messages, which can help. Yeah, this can help. Say, nowadays Google, it supports you the grammatical error mistakes. When you want to convey, because speaking is very fast when compared to talking. So if you want to convey something with the text message, it takes more time. At that point of time, you can help, Google helps with the grammar. It can do an auto-filling of their sentences. It can help them. These are all the new technologies which are working towards this disabled, differently enabled people. Accessibility with the dexterity. Performing tasks using hands. There are many people, many times even I do that. Whenever you're traveling, your one hand is on the steering and the other hand is on the mobile. When you're cooking, you'll be watching, you'll be cooking. When you are writing, you'll be writing, you'll be seeing it. Which means there should be some possibility of users, even though we are very good with physically fit, but there are some disability which we create by ourselves by using only single hand. So we should provide such a way that even using a single hand, you should be able to access your mobile. Either it's swiping, texting, very simple text messages. These things, we should consider these aspects also while designing your UI. So if by mistake, if I do a double touch, what happens? How do I text a message with a single hand? These are the possibilities which you have to consider while designing your applications. Then hands-free devices. So many times our voices should be recognized. So if I want to call a person, I am completely cooking with both the hands, then I say, call Subramanya. So these should be recognized. These are all the kinds of inputs which we can give them with the hands-free devices. Then voice recognition. Yes, voice recognition is also possible, because many times we cannot text. We have to convert our voices to text messages. Meaning, these are wide range of accessibility which we can provide for different kinds of users. These are all things to be considered when we are developing a mobile applications UI. So that's the reason we say 60% of the time goes for UI development only, because these are all aspects which are part of your designing. Then auto completion input text. Yes, with one hand, if you're typing something, say you're in a meeting, you want to change the call. You want to cut the call, but you want to text it very fastly, telling that I am on the meeting, please call back later. Then automatically there should be some auto-filling feature or preloaded messages which are already there. So these things can help design a better UI so that users are interested to use your application. The more the features, the better the application becomes. With this, the last one is cognition. There should be very clarity with the navigation, with a simple interaction. Don't make it complex. Make it very simple. And proper icons and images. Say, consider yours is a very small screen. You cannot have a big images into it. If you consider, there is a very big change over the period of time. Earlier, if you are observing the Windows kind of a desktop, we used to say everything with the text things. Say application, if it is a Gmail application, it used to say Gmail, Facebook and everything. Nowadays, it has turned out to be in terms of icons. By looking at the icon, we can say this is Gmail, this is WhatsApp, this is Facebook. This is how the things have changed. Icons have replaced the names, which means because our mind can easily grasp, very fastly it grabs the images rather than reading it. Reading takes time. Grasping images very faster. So these are all the UI perspective also. So that's the reason texts have replaced with the images. Shortcuts and pre-recorded commands. Shortcuts, of course, there will be whenever we keep in a home screen, every time we use the applications for the more time, then we keep it in the home screen. So that is nothing but a shortcut. Then enable user customization. So we should provide the customization for the users. We cannot keep on load everything on the home screen. We should allow the user to customize it. So these are all the aspects which you have to consider while designing it. So cognition, dexterity, each problem, for every kind of users there is a way to access the mobiles. So with this, so today what we saw was completely towards the mobile applications users, the UI principles, the social aspect of mobile, usability and accessibility. In detail, we learnt about the main purpose of mobile application users. What is the understanding? Means the completely UI perspective, how, what is the concentration we have to give, how we have to build, how we have to make everyone use it, how we can make them access it. This was the main lecture takeaway for today's class. And with this, I would like to end today's lecture. Thank you all.